Hi guys, it's Andy from Mancity Fan TV and welcome to this preview for the Oxford United Cup competition game for Wednesday evening. What I did was got in touch with Oxford United and they put me in touch with Simon.
Hello, I'm Simon from the Yellow Army and the Fence End podcast, and I'll be answering the questions from Mancity Fan TV today. Hope you enjoy the answers. So question one, you seem to be on a good run at the moment, unbeaten in your last 5, 7th in the league and only 6 points off Ipswich in second. How's your season going and where do you think you'll realistically finish? Yeah, we're on a very good run of form at the moment. I think it's about 10 or 11 unbeaten in the league. Only game we've lost was in the leasing.com, which is the lower league trophy. It's very tight at the moment. A lot of teams within sort of 4 or 5 points of each other at the top of the table. Wycombe and Ipswich seem to be creating a bit of a gap, but we play Wycombe the game after we play Man City. So hopeful of a good result there and sort of get ourselves well and truly set into the playoff positions. I think playoffs is realistic. Automatics might not be, but I think the way we're playing at the moment, don't fear anyone. The season's gone pretty well. Good, still in the FA Cup, obviously still in the League Cup, and going well in the league. So it's been a good season so far, and I think playoffs is realistic. So let's hope that's where we end up.
Okay, so Simon's first question to me is quite a long one, so I'll read it out. He says, Guardiola has often called for Premier League B teams to be included in the lower leagues. Many under-21 teams are taking part in the leasing.com trophy for League 1 and 2 teams. A few years ago, City were in the third tier. How would City fans have felt about having to play Man United's kids as equals? And what do your fans think about the idea of B teams? Wow, it's not something, I must admit, Simon, it's not something I've had a lot of discussion with City fans about. As far as the leasing.com trophy, or, you know, I know that City have put teams in what was Checker Trade trophy. I think it's a good idea to a certain degree. My one concern about it is, does it mean that the league expands, or does that mean that some of the lower league teams actually drop out the league? If that was the case, then no, I don't think I'd enjoy that. I must admit. Is it a good idea in theory? I think it is, because we've seen a lot of, certainly at City, we see a lot of players hanging around who are on the fringes of the academy team, sort of on the fringes of the first team and the EDS teams. And it would be perfect introduction to proper football, proper men's football for those people. So I can see the benefits of it. Would I like to see it if I was down there? I'll be honest with you. I think your question says if we were down, I'm assuming it's down at the bottom of maybe Division 2 and we had to play a United team full of kids, a kids team. No, probably not, if I'm being brutally honest. But I can see the benefits of it. I think obviously in Spain and places like that they have this particular format, but it's a difficult one. I'll be honest with you, I haven't really spoken to fans about the merits of a B team. I know Pep is keen on that type of thing, but I just can't see it happening. That's the top and bottom of it. So for me, there are pros, but I don't think it'll happen.
So question 2 is your greatest memories of Oxford United versus Man City games. Well, it's prior to last season's League Cup encounter, we hadn't met for 20 years prior to that. So it's in the deep and distant recesses of my mind. But sort of checking back through the statistics and having a look at prior games, one does spring to mind, and that's from about sort of 35 years ago. Was it League? The 84-85 season in March, when previous season we'd been promoted. This was in the old Division 2, what's now the Championship, and we'd been promoted the season before as champions of that division. we'd had a good start to the season, had a little bit of a blip, and in March, Man City came to the old Manor Grounders, and Man City were top of the table at the time. I think we were sort of fifth or sixth, but we had games in hand, and we'd lost to Birmingham City the week before, who were going well as well, and we just needed to sort of get back to winning ways, and we ended up winning the game 3-0, 2 from Aldridge, 1 from Trevor Hebbard. And we went then on a run of wins that eventually took us to winning the division. Went up as champions again. Man City went up with us. You made a better fist of it. Stayed there for a bit longer than we did, but that game really sticks in the mind. That was my first season of really following Oxford. It was a packed Manor Ground. I don't know if you remember the Manor Ground. Not the biggest stadium in the world, and we had lots of little stands dotted around the place. I know we've only got 3 stands now, but we had about 7 or 8 then, so we average out to 4 stands of ground at least. But it was a hell of a game. I say, some real well-known players we had back then, Aldridge and Billy Hamilton and people like that, Trevor Hebbard, Briggs and Shotton, I think Bobby McDonald, who used to play for Man City, the ex-Man City player. So it was a really good game, and I say one that sticks in the memory for all sorts of reasons. If it's as good as that on Wednesday night, we'll all be more than happy.
Okay, and on to question 2, another lengthy one. After years of gradual decline, we've enjoyed a decent last 10 years with a couple of promotions and some good cup runs. Although we're going well this season, there's that nagging doubt that it could all go wrong. As City have enjoyed an up and down history, do City fans have that same nagging doubt even now? Of course we do. Yeah, I mean, is it as bad as it was a few years ago? No, probably not. And I think what we've seen as City fans is we've seen an owner that invests wisely. The actual structure and everything else that goes with the club is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. After after a few years, we had the whole opposition fans saying, "Oh, when he gets bored of his toy, he'll sell it." And we've always said that that's just not going to be the case. And as it's proven, it isn't. We've seen the way the club has grown into what potentially next year could be overtaking Manchester United in revenue. So we are outside of the Dallas Cowboys, I believe, the wealthiest club in respect of how much the club is worth. I mean, 4.8 billion. I mean, it's frightening figures considering where we were when Sheikh Mansour took over. So nagging doubts, that City-itis will never leave old school fans. And I mean, just won't. And sometimes it's good to be reminded of that as well. And I tell the story last year the year before, when Pogba popped up with 2 goals and we got beat 3-2 at home. And walking out the stadium, when we could have won the Premier League against United that particular day, we went on to win it. But walking down the stairs at the South Stand, talking to City fans, just going, she's always there. And sometimes it's good because it sort of reminds you of where you've actually come from. But I don't think it will ever leave, regardless, certainly in my lifetime anyway. I guess the younger generation have grown up with nothing but success. So maybe they see it in a different light. But old school City fans, yeah, we're a negative bunch when it comes to our club, in respects of that City-itis is just within our DNA now.
So question 3 is, you've got Ben Woodburn on loan from Liverpool. I know he's been out with an injury lately from what you've seen and what you thought. So I was very impressed with him at the start of the season. He's obviously had a tricky loan spell at Sheffield United last season. Never really got going up there, and when he came to us, I know a lot of our fans were really excited about him coming. He was clearly a player with a lot of talent. Over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, we've brought in players from either on loan or we've bought them from Premier League academies. Players like Kiam, who got in from West Brom, who did really well for us. Went to Leeds, now playing in Europe, and sort of John Lundstrom, Ryan Ledson, players like that who came down to us when we were in League Two, played really well. Got themselves moves, are now sort of Championship, or in Lundstrom's case, really established now as a good Premier League player, doing really well at Sheffield United. But Woodburn, really impressed with him early on in the season. He was one of those players that I think was quietly influential, where you'd kind of think, okay, well, has he impacted on the game? But you'd watch highlights back and realise that he'd been involved early on in moves, either winning the ball back in midfield or setting a pass to a winger who provided the cross for the goal. So it's not always the stats. 1 goal and 4 assists is good, but I think he's been more influential perhaps than the stats just than they say. He obviously got injured back in October. As far as I understand, he's back training now with Liverpool, getting back to fitness. I'd like to think we'd take him on again. We've certainly got a bit of a problem with injuries with midfielders. Lots of players out at the moment, but if he's fit and back with us, I'd be more than happy to see him back, and I think he could be an important player for the rest of the season.
Okay, and on to question 3. Is there anyone in the Oxford United team that you're aware of or worried about? Simon, I'll be honest with you, mate. I don't know. I have no idea. It's busy enough running a channel, never mind trying to watch Premier League games, never mind trying to watch Championship or, other division games. I'm not one of those fans who obsess about watching every single type of football. I just don't get the time to watch it. So I'll be brutally honest, I don't know anybody in your team per se that I'm thinking, oh my God, he could be a real danger man on the day. I did ask you the same question back for you to tell me, so you're probably in a better position. I would have liked to have seen Ben Woodburn, obviously somebody I know very well. I would have liked to have seen back at Oxford and hopefully have playing on Wednesday evening, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. Because I believe he's back at Liverpool now, recovering from that ankle injury. So I don't know. I'm going to have to leave you to tell me that, mate.
Okay, so question 4. I can see a mixed squad of youth and second string players coming to the Kiam. Who from Oxford should we be wary of? Well, at the moment, a lot of injuries. So players that have been important players for us through the season are many of them out injured at the moment, but I'd say I think players who are going to need to be on their best on Wednesday. Rob Dickey, our centre half, nicknamed Virgil Van Dickey, he's come on really well this season. Last season was his first real full season with us. Good centre half, good ball playing centre half. Obviously, he's going to be. I would imagine he'll be rather busy on Wednesday, but he needs to play well if we're going to be any luck. Alex Gorin, defensive midfielder, who's one of these players doesn't stand out. He just does the dirty work of sitting in front of the back four, breaking up play, finding players who can then go and express and attack. Tariq Fosu, who has played under Carl Robinson, our manager now, for 3 clubs. He was with him at MK Dons, then at Charlton, and always plays his best football under Carl Robinson. He's been great for us this season. Works really hard, attacking sort of wide midfielder, winger. Scored a lot of goals. A real threat. Hopefully he plays well. Shandon Baptiste, who's a lad who's come up through the academy. He's been out injured though, unfortunately. He captained the side against you last season, and he's another player that we've got a lot of hopes for. Hopefully will go sort of well in the game. And I guess Matt Taylor up front. He's the kind of poacher goal scorer that we've really missed over the last sort of 2 or 3 seasons, where we've played some good football and had centre forwards who are willing to run and work hard, but not being those sort of clinical finishers. And he's added that to our team. He's a real clinical finisher. So I think those if those sort of 3-4 players play on Wednesday, they're going to need to play well to for us to have any chance.
And on to question 4. Are there any players likely to feature for City that aren't among the usual household names we know from watching Match of the Day that are highly rated? Well, it depends on how much of City you watch and which games you've watched, because forget Phil Foden. You may have seen Eric Garcia, exceptionally gifted academy kid from Barcelona that City have. Very cool, calm and collected. We also have a local lad called Taylor Harwood-Bellis, centre-back, exceptionally. He's gonna be a future Man City centre-back. He's got everything on there. Very calm, very composed, and don't be surprised to see him play on Wednesday night. He's a really gifted kid. I mean, I don't even think he's 18 yet. As from the others, we've got Tommy Doyle, another local lad, midfielder, centre midfielder. He could potentially play. Exceptionally gifted as well. He is the grandson of Mike Doyle and Glenn Pardo, so high pedigree indeed with him. Of the others, you might see the likes of Ian Poveda, a tricky winger. You might also see the likes of Adrian Bernabé. He's another graduate of the Barcelona Academy. He's a very skillful, very tricky player. As for the others, I'm not too sure how many more potentially will step up on Wednesday night. I think still Wednesday you'll see a mixture of experience, of reserve players and a few kids as well. But I'd really be surprised if City put out more than maybe 2 or 3 of them in the starting 11.
So score predictions is the final question. That's going to be a tricky one. It's going to be an interesting game on Wednesday. Many Man City fans will be aware, I would imagine, that Jim Smith, one of our former managers, passed away during the week, and next Wednesday, the 18th, it's a day before an anniversary of quite a big cup giant killing. League Cup 4th round. We were then, back in 1983, we were a 3rd division side, going really well in the 3rd division, currently League One, as we are now. And we were playing your City neighbours, the ones that play in red from up the road. They were going well. They were top of what's now the Premier League, or very close to the top, just behind Liverpool, funnily enough. And we played them at home, drew 1-1. That was back in the days of replays, so we went to Old Trafford and drew there as well, 1-1. And back then, you tossed a coin to see where the next game would be played, and apparently everybody assumed that even if Oxford won the toss, we'd go back to Old Trafford for the gate revenue, and this was back in the days of Robert Maxwell. And the story goes that he won the toss, and the Manchester United director said, "Oh, I assume you'll be coming back to Old Trafford for the next game." And Maxwell went, "No, it's at the Manor," and turned around and walked out of the room. And we took them back to the Manor on the 19th of December, so the day after the game on Wednesday and the anniversary, and beat them 2-1. Real cup upset, and it kind of ignited a cup 2 or 3 seasons of probably our greatest period of time in our history. 2 promotions, and then we won the League Cup, and it was quite a cup upset back then. So whether we can redo that, it's going to be quite an ask. But who knows? Let's say we'll do without the replay. We'll call it a draw, and let's see us win it on penalties. But he's hoping for a great game, whatever the result.
Okay, and the final question is: before last year's 3rd round match, we hadn't met since a 2-0 Oxford win at Main Road in 1998. Any memories of previous encounters there or at the old Manor Ground? I had to really rack my brains on this one. And I can remember, I may have gone to 4, but I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. The 3 that I definitely can remember the games and going to the games, and I'll tell you, I had to write them down. was, you mentioned there the 98 game at Main Road. That I remember, but going before that was the 97 game at the Manor Ground, and it was a drab 0-0. I do remember that much. I think we were in League One then. Going back into the late 80s, 1989, I remember City beating Oxford 4-2 at the Manor Ground. I remember David White playing. I think David White scored, in fact, and I'm trying to think who else actually scored. I'm sure, if I remember rightly, you were 1-0 up or 2-0 up, and City came back in the second half and won 4-2. And then prior to that, it's going back a long time, but I think 86 was a defeat I saw at Main Road, and you absolutely slaughtered us 3-0 back when we were in Division 1 at the time. So we were in Division 1 at that particular moment, and I remember getting a right pasting. Other than that, I am sure there's another one, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. So that would be, I was there at the 98, the 97 one, down at the Manor Ground, which was a really terrible 0-0 draw. City beating you at the Manor Ground 4-2 behind them. Remember, behind the goal, bananas and everything were going off, and remember being the usual cages and that type of thing. But I'm sure David White scored. I'm definitely certain David White scored that day, and somebody I can't remember. I honestly can't remember, but I'm sure you were 2-0 up. And then obviously at Main Road, you beating us in 86, I think it was. You beat us 3-0 and battered us 3-0. So they were my memories. And if I had to give a score prediction for tomorrow night, I think it'd be a tough game because of the team we might put out. But I'm going to still say City should be strong enough. And I think we'll keep a few people in reserve on the bench just in case. So actually reading through those results now, I'm starting to worry about Wednesday night. I still think City might win it 3-1. But anyway, Simon, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on Man City Fan TV. Good luck on Wednesday night. Unfortunately, I'm overseas, so I'm not there. Otherwise, I would have loved to have gone down and watched this particular game. But anyway, this is Andy from Man City Fan TV. This is the preview for the Oxford United Cup competition, which is on Wednesday night. And all I can say is, again, thanks to Simon, and good luck to City on Wednesday.